This is Out of the Box with your host, Jonathan Clark. Out of the Box, Sunday nights at 9 on Q1043.
Welcome back, Jonathan Clark here on Q104.3's Out of the Box. We are with, we were with half the band of Spoon. We've got Britt and Alex with us. The new release, I'm going to hold it up right here. Everything Hits at Once, a compilation of the band's many great songs, including a new one called No Bullets Spent, which you have been hearing on this show. And they are currently on the night running tour with Beck and Cage the Elephant. All the tour dates, spoontheband.com. You've had a few shows in the area. How have they been going?
Real good.
Yeah.
We played Forest Hills. What was that? Saturday?
Yeah, it was awesome.
And we played this sort of what we. I was going to say that we went to a bit of a show the next night where Beck and Cage played. I got up and played.
Yeah.
Wait,
you,
so
you
that
left
was,
for that part of it.
That was like a performance
That was a party. Yeah.
thing with Matt Schultz from Cage.
Yeah, right.
Was there an Elvis Costello cover busted out?
Yes, that's right.
I did see a clip.
You did your research.
I did my research. Pump It Up?
Yeah.
What other songs did you guys jam on?
Well, that's the only one that I was involved with, but it was just kind of amazing because, we've been playing all these huge shows in amphitheaters, and to see the Beck band play in this little performance space. It's all wood
in Greenpoint, Brooklyn.
Yeah,
right?
It's wood floors, wood walls, and then it was two floors, and it sounded amazing. And they sounded like, James Brown. It was out of control how great they were. You could tell that they were pumped to play in a smaller place.
Yeah. Because it's a different vibe completely.
A very different vibe.
So 8 studio albums so far since the band formed back in the 90s. So back in 1993 in Austin, Texas, one of my favorite places in the world, did you ever think in 2019 you would be at a rock station in New York City talking about your greatest hits compilation?
No, Jonathan, never crossed my mind. It never did.
Wow.
Well, I never thought about doing a greatest hits. And it would come up, it came up many years later than that. Maybe when we'd put out 4 or 5 albums, people started saying, maybe you should do a greatest hits. And I always just thought it wasn't the time,
Yeah.
But,
was selecting these 12 tracks like a tedious process? I mean, that's a lot of songs.
It was a lot of narrowing down to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It took a second. The hardest part was figuring out what kind of greatest hits compilation we wanted to do. My first idea was a really big one that was more like an anthology for hardcore fans that had rarities and B-sides.
A box set.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
At least my first list was about 3 discs long once I tallied it all up. And but then we realized that's probably not the kind of hits record we want to make right now. We wanted to do something that was more like what Standing on a Beach was by The Cure for me when I was 15 and very lonely in Dallas, Texas.
And that's how you got into them, right? I mean, and then you went back from
yes.
there.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people do that actually,
right?
Because they like one song and they grab an album and they think that's maybe the current album, and then they find out it's the greatest hits.
Right.
And they do their research and they go back in time. My favorites on here include Do You, The Underdog, Hot Thoughts, Rent, Got Nothing, and the new one too, No Bullets Spent. You guys have had a lot of songs in TV shows, commercials, and movies over the years. One in particular is really fascinating to me because it turned out to be not only your song in the show, but a lot more. Tell the story about The Simpsons and your song, I Turned My Camera On.
Well,
it's amazing for Simpsons fans.
Yeah, it was amazing for me. I don't know. There wasn't too much of a story other than we put out this song, I Turned My Camera On our record, Gimme Fiction, and then a couple years later, someone from one of my managers said they want to use it on The Simpsons. Is that okay?
No.
And I said, that I can approve that one.
Right.
Yeah.
But then it turned into a lot more than that because you actually went to you sat down.
Oh, you're talking. I did go to that was even before that though. I went to a reading of The Simpsons, and that was on the Kill the Moonlight tour. We played at the Troubadour in L.A. And some guy just came up to me and says, "I'm a writer on The Simpsons. Do you want to come to a reading tomorrow?" And again, I was like, yeah, I'll do that.
My God. So, and you're watching these people do these incredible voices.
And it was insane because you don't recognize any of their faces, just the voices. And some of them were doing, 4 or 5 voices. But it was in a room about this size, tons of people around a table.
Yeah.
And
Was Harry Shearer there?
yeah, he was there. He
Oh.
signed a script for me. Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. Was there another one of your songs in a TV show, commercial, or movie that also sort of stands out to you that for some one reason or another, because you've had a lot of them, but is there one that sort of stands out that sort of you always sort of remember?
You got one? Can you think of any?
Yeah, the OC was big, I think, for Spoon.
Yeah,
When that happened,
Yeah.
I think it exposed a lot of people to the band.
Right. Yeah, and I would hear people would come up to me for years after saying that they first heard about us on the OC. So I guess that was a big one for us.
Are you still a believer in making albums for albums' sakes? Because a lot of bands, they will release singles like every 6 weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
But I read that you're a believer in these albums and sort of the concept of the album,
I do believe in the concept of the album, but I mean, doesn't mean you can't put out a single first or
Right, yeah.
6 months in advance or something like that. But yeah, the concept of the album is it's a cool thing to me. To me, it's like the biggest statement that an artist can make, and it represents a moment in time, and not only for the artist but for the listeners, the fans of the artist. So I don't know. It's still a big deal to me. And every now and then I hear someone say the album is dead, but I don't know. Even like Beyonce puts out albums.
Right,
Her
yeah.
biggest promotion is around the album coming out.
Of course.
It's still a thing.
Do you have an album's worth of new songs, or are you planning on working?
Almost.
Almost. Okay.
We've
Like 46% done.
yeah, I'd say that's about right.
46.
I heard a discussion about you maybe moving to Austin, Alex. Is that going to happen? to
It's
finish
up in
this
the
album?
air. It's up in the air right now. We discussed it a little bit last night.
I've had him commit to 3 months.
3 months.
3 months in the fall in Austin, not bad. It's
Yeah.
not going to be too hot.
It's
right?
It's great. In the
It's a
fall.
good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really good time. The
Let me-
winter's pretty good too.
Winter's
actually.
great too.
Is it bizarre having a presidential candidate play piano to one of your songs?
Yeah, it
Pete
was.
Buttigieg, what was the song? The Way We Get By.
Right.
On piano.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. What happened there?
I got an email from Mac from Merge Records saying, I know you've seen this probably, but just had to share. This is awesome. And I had not heard about it. He was the first person to let me know. And then the rest of the day I was getting nothing but emails and phone calls about it. But it was a cool moment. He was just sort of just kind of coming into focus for a lot of people. It was back in April, and people were really just finding out about him. And then this thing came out. We had no idea it was coming.
It's another sync. And if he wins, Fish will play his inauguration. Did you hear that?
Was that right?
Fish fans were going bananas when he
He
said that.
said that?
Yeah.
He said,
Okay.
yeah, if you win the inauguration, somebody asked him, he's like, who's going to play? Beyonce or, something like that. He's like, nah, I want Fish to play.
Oh, I thought that was our gig.
Well, you can compete for it, I
Right.
guess. So from all the tours and places the band has played around the world, is there one gig in particular that sort of stands out where maybe you met one of your rock and roll idols, maybe you jammed with him, or maybe a specific venue, say, around the world that you were like, oh, man, I can't believe we played there?
I mean, playing Red Rocks is always sick, but I'm just thinking of Peoria last year, to be honest. We had a
Peoria
great
was a
show
great
in
show.
Peoria.
Yeah.
On the last tour.
Nothing fancy about it.
No, it was like I think it was like a converted,
That was a magic moment, though.
converted jacuzzi store. I
Yes,
think
that's
it
it.
was.
That is what it
Yeah,
was. And we
converted-
listened to. I remember that was the first time we ever listened to "I Wish" by Stevie Wonder,
Before the show.
really loud before the show, and we were just feeling the spirit, and we went out and just slayed.
Yeah, it was great.
But in terms of like, we played. We got to play Radio City Music Hall. We sold the place out, and it was the story I always tell is I'm a big Donald Duck fan, and I had this DVD of Donald Duck I was watching the week before we played it, and Donald Duck went on Radio City Music Hall and he played it, and I saw him go in the stage door, and I said, "That's what I'm doing next week." That was a big one for me.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. Tell us about, I wanted to ask you what was I going to ask you? Oh, okay. No Bullets Spent. Tell me about this song, and then we'll play it. We've been playing it on the show already, but just tell me about this new song that's on the compilation.
Yeah, it's a song I wrote last summer, right about this time in New York. I was here for a few months, and I don't know if you remember, there were a few heat waves last summer. I
And
got
this
here
summer, actually.
yeah. It's probably not going to stop. But
A couple blackouts this summer
right.
that I was affected by, but whatever.
So I was in the thick of that heat wave trying to write this song and watching a lot of news and feeling, just sweating for many reasons. And this story of an oppressive master came to me. And so that's what the song's about. And we sat on it for a little while and then recorded it in February in Austin.
Is that auto-tune at the beginning?
No,
don't freak out, Spoon fans.
Yeah, it's not
auto-tune.
Well, I guess in a way it's an auto-tune,
Kinda,
right?
yeah.
It's a vocoder.
Vocoder,
Yeah. So in a way, though,
I guess it could be technically an auto.
I guess if you just pull down one note,
Yeah.
that's what an auto-tune is, right? But he's playing a chord.
Yeah. So we took his vocals and ran it through a keyboard.
Right.
That you play the chord and the vocals turn into the.
But the
keyboard sound.
vocoder's been around for like a long time,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
I
the
guess,
first 70s or something,
Right.
Yeah.
So you could have used a vocoder in the 70s as an auto-tune, but
Right.
people didn't
People
go there.
No.
Do you guys remember the first time you came to New York City?
I do.
Yeah.
Tell me what happened. Was it a gig? Was it?
First time I came was just as a dude before the band started, and I was blown away. Because I grew up in Texas in a small town, and when I came up to New York, I felt like this is a whole other world. It's so different from where I'm from, and I kind of knew things about New York, and I watched Seinfeld. I sort of had this impression of what New York was, but it blew me away. Even from when the first place I went was in Queens, and we were staying out at some guy's house, and I just the feel of this is so different from anything I know. I don't know. I've always loved it. What was your first time like?
My dad's from here, so he would bring me here as a kid to visit family. And the first time I think we did all like the Statue of Liberty stuff. And,
Yeah.
But it was just crazy. Like, I've never seen like so many people selling stuff on the street, just such a wild vibe, just taking it all in.
Do you remember the first gig? Where was the first gig?
My first gig was at Brownies. I'm sure you remember that
Brownies,
place.
yeah.
And Gerard from Matador had set up that gig just as a friend. We weren't on the label, and we didn't really know him. I had just sent him a tape, and he was like, "Oh, you want to play New York sometime?" And I was like, "Okay, that sounds like a good reason to go to New York." And he set up this show at Brownies, and nobody was there except for Gerard and his girlfriend, I think.
The bartender.
Yeah, basically. And that was the first of many shows to be played at Brownies.
Brownies now called Coney Island Baby.
You know what? It just changed again. I walked by there last night. It has a new front. It's all white, and it has a new name. But it just changed. It was Coney Island Baby.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is Jesse Mallon involved or something?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was involved
Yeah.
with Brownies, and I used to write songs in the basement of Brownies, and when renting Jesse Mallon's place, he had a little studio there, which is where Ryan Adams recorded Rock and Roll. Anyway, yeah. So I rented that place, but I don't know if he's involved anymore. But if you walk by, you will not recognize it. You'll recognize the shape of it, but it's all white now and no name on the front.
I hope it's cool.
I didn't go in, but it was going to be $10 to get in, so I was like,
Yeah. See you later. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I was curious, but not that curious. I was just walking by.
We are with Spoon, the new release, Everything Hits at Once, a compilation of the band's many great songs, including a new one, No Bullets Spent, which we're going to play here. They are on tour, on the night running tour with Beck and Cage the Elephant. All the tour dates, spoontheband.com. Guys, thank you so much, man. A real pleasure to finally get you guys in the studio. This is a really great compilation. I'll hold it up again for the fans watching on video. Everyone should go out and get this right away, and we look forward to the new album. Thanks, guys.
Thanks
It's a
for
pleasure
having
to
us.
talk to you.
Yeah.
This is Out of the Box with your host, Jonathan Clark. Out of the Box, Sunday nights at 9 on Q1043.